Now I'm looking at the cover.
Hello, it's Marshall Chess again with another story. This is going to be a long one. I could probably do hours about Willie Dixon, one of the key people that were involved with the success of Chess Records and the many great productions of my father Leonard and my uncle Phil Chess. Without Willie's help, they might not have happened. Of course, I don't know that, but my memories of Willie are so many. I'll start with his size. When I started going around chess, I was a little kid, like 10, 11, 12 years old, and I'm short. I'm only 5'8" now. Willie was this giant man, like a whale, like 350 pounds and 6'5" and big. And I would feel like a midget next to him. But he had the warmest, friendliest demeanor. And even as a small guy, he made me feel very comfortable. And I have a long history with Willie. I'm going to start out with a funny story. But, Willie was just an amazing songwriter. Some of the great songs he has written is Hoochie Coochie Man, I Just Want to Make Love to You, Little Red Rooster, My Babe, a Little Walter hit, Spoonful, You Can't Judge a Book by the Cover that Bo Diddley did. I mean, he worked with Muddy, Wolf, Walter, all the great chess blues artists. But let me tell you the story first. In Chicago, we did all our recording sessions as a union recording studio, and we had to pay union wages with union contracts. One of my jobs was to take care of this after the recording session. Mr. Samuels from the union would come, all the musicians would come and get paid. They signed a union contract, union fees. But with union fees, the leader of the recording session got paid double. So my father and uncle made a deal with Willie Dixon saying, you will become the leader of every session and get paid double, but half of that, you have to go to the bank, get the money, and give me half back, and I'll make you the leader. It was a great business deal for both. Willie Dixon needed my father to make that kind of money, to make a deal like that. My father needed Willie Dixon to find the musicians. So before I tell you this story, let me tell you one of the original great needs of Chess Records for a guy like Willie. All these great bluesmen and all the great sidemen in Chicago were free living, free loving guys. They weren't the rules of, happy family, one wife. These guys had women all over the place. They partied all night. And they didn't have telephones. This was a day before cell phone. These people in the ghetto of Chicago did not have telephones in their house. They'd go to the corner payphone if they had to make a call for coins. Willie knew where everyone was. He knew who everyone's girlfriend, who everyone's third girlfriend was, who everyone's wife was. So when there was a session and he had to get together the band, Willie was the key. My dad would say, Willie, we're doing Muddy next week. Get it together. And Willie would go and find all the different players that, that we were going to use as sidemen, the ones that Muddy didn't know or that wasn't in his band. And that's how it all began. But when Willie became the official leader of all the chess sessions, every week, my father would send me with him to the bank to cash the check so Willie could come back and give half of the cash to my father. That was the deal. Now, I remember Willie had an early Chevy station wagon. I remember it was a faded, unpolished brown color. And it used to be always parked on Michigan Avenue right in front of Chess Records, at the curbside. And my father would give Willie the check. He'd say, "Go with Marshall to the bank. He'll go to the bank with you." My father wanted to make sure I would get half the money that Willie got and bring it back to him. So I did that maybe a dozen times in my life, more than once. And the story is this: the first time Willie was big, like I said, he was like 6'4", 300 pounds, a giant of a man. I was a little midget of a guy. We'd go outside first time, get in his station wagon, and I would get in the passenger side. And when Willie got in the driver's side, the whole car would tilt over to the left, like on an angle. That's how light I was, how old the springs were in the car, and how big Willie was. And we would drive all the way at a slight angle to the bank. And I would go in with Willie, little Marshall, and get the money and bring it back to my dad. That was how. So I had built a relationship from a very young age with Willie. Another thing that Willie had, I'm telling all his secrets now, but his wife and daughter are no longer living, so they can't come after me. But Willie had two families. He had two complete children, houses, wives, and they knew about each other and accepted it. And I knew both of them. I sat in the kitchen of both of those houses. And that was his big thing. It was considered, no one even thought it was strange. It was probably part of the African culture that came over to the south side of Chicago, along with mojos and voodoo and all the other things, and great music and riffs and boogie woogie. Those are all African riffs that came from with all these first immigrants from the south who came from Africa. So that's how well I knew Willie. That was my funny Willie Dixon story. But Willie would assemble these great bands of musicians for my father and uncle to produce. And Willie was, of course, a fabulous upright bass player. I remember his bass was white. He had this large upright bass because he started out in a trio, as a jazz trio. That's how he got involved with music. He was actually a boxer. He wanted to be a physical, a fist fighter, a boxer to make money. But he got pulled into music by a great keyboarder named Leonard Kasten. I know Leonard Kasten because Leonard Kasten Jr., the son of that great keyboarder of my father's time, became one of my keyboard players at chess, the son, Leonard Kasten Jr. So I go back a long way. The other hidden secret of Willie Dixon that was known around the blues community, in Chicago especially, was he was not only known as a great songwriter. I'm sorry, Mrs. Dixon, but your husband was also known as a great song stealer. And many of those great songs that have Willie's name on were songs that he modified or took completely of these young artists that came up from the South. And they wanted to make music, and the word out in the ghetto was, go see Willie. He'll hook you up with chess. So Willie, the biggest one that I remember was Coco Taylor, Wang Dang Doodle. And of course, if you look at that record, you'll see Willie Dixon is the writer, but Coco is the writer, or whoever wrote it down south before she came up. She was another great chess character right from that same era. When Willie discovered her, she was cleaning houses for white people in Chicago. And she had that song, Wang Dang Doodle. He brought her to chess, and we had a blues hit, and she became a blues artist. The last house she ever cleaned. I loved her. She was one of the most real of all the blues artists at chess. No fear. Very comfortable with my father, uncle, and me, like talking, it was a very, very comfortable lady. I remember when we were making the Martin Scorsese blues film Godfathers and Sons, we filmed Coco in Chicago right before she died, a little before. And a story she never told me, we were talking about Howlin' Wolf. Hello, everyone. It's Marshall Chess again. She said, Marshall, didn't you know Wolf was an alcoholic? I said, come on. Wolf was always clean, like a respectful guy. She said, nope. In order to do all that crazy stuff on stage, that howling, he would drink. He would drink right out of the bottle before he went on stage. He said, I never knew that. I never knew that. And I had seen him drunk on stage, but I never knew that's what he had to do that crazy stuff. One of the first blues things I ever went to was with a disc jockey, a black disc jockey from my father's radio station, WVON, the voice of the Negro, the first modern black radio station in America. You can find out about that on our channel. Check it out. Anyway, I went to this club in the west side of Chicago, a union hall, which is where the union leased it out to someone on a weekend to have a blues concert and dance. And they would put up a table at one end and sell whiskey, shots of whiskey, and people would dance.
You may take my baby, but I know you can't keep her long. I got a new way of loving and nobody else can catch on.
Another night you cry, and I ain't gonna cry no more. Yes, another night you cry, and I ain't gonna cry no more. 'Cause I've found me a fine brown body, and I've got to let you go.
I walked into this union hall, and it was full of people dancing, selling alcohol from like a card table in the corner for 50 cents a shot. People dancing, and on stage was Howlin' Wolf. And I'm looking at the stage now in my mind. In the left-hand corner was Hubert Sumlin, his great guitarist. To me, one of the greatest melodic blues riff guitarists ever, Hubert Sumlin. Hubert, who I discovered as a young boy down south, brought up to Chicago. Hubert was playing, and he must have hit a bad note because Wolf went over to the side of the stage and punched him in the arm right on stage and yelled at him. And I'll never forget that. I'd never seen anything like that. That was my Howling Wolf live experience, where he got down on his knees and howled. Now I know he was drunk after talking to Coco Taylor. I didn't really know that then. I thought it was part of his act. And it was part of his act that he was smart enough to fuel it with alcohol, and he became a big star. Him and Muddy were the biggest competing blues stars in Chicago for a while. They compete on weekends. There'd be like posters out. That was a great time for blues in Chicago and for Chess Records. We had blues hit after blues hit. I went from walking up 3 floors to an apartment to a brand new 3-speed bicycle, riding around the neighborhood. Things changed for me, and things changed for music. The blues became rock and roll. You know all about that, don't you? Rolling Stones, Beatles, Yardbirds, Kinks. All those names I just said. Willie Dixon songs, all those great early English rock groups did material that Willie wrote. So there you go. Not only did Willie Dixon affect Chess Records, all the great blues artists, he affected rock and roll greatly by those great songs he wrote that all the early English and American groups did in their repertoire.
I got 29 ways to get to my baby's door. When she needs me in bed, I can find about 2 or 3 more. Way through the window, way down the hall. Oh, and get rough, I got a hole in the wall. Got 29 ways, get to my baby's door. When she needs me in bed, I can find about 2 or 3 more. Got a way through the window, way down the hall. Oh, and get rough, I got a hole in the wall. Got 29 ways, get to my baby's door.
Hello, everyone. It's Marshall Chess again. Without Willie Dixon, the blues would have probably sounded differently. He was really that important of an element. But Willie Dixon alone couldn't have done it. So it was the brilliance of this symbiotic relationship of the Chess Brothers, Chess Records, the time and place of the world, all these million black people who came from poverty and slavery up to the North in America. It was this whole chemical mix that made this fabulous music happen and be such a great representation of the time and place that it was. And the music from that era that Willie Dixon created, that's been passed along by other artists doing his material, will be around forever. It's the great foundation of rock and roll and rhythm and blues. So I can't say enough about Willie Dixon, so I'm going to shut up. Keep listening to the Chess Channel, to the Chess Tribute Channel. Keep subscribing. Keep saying you like it, and I'll keep telling you stories, more stories, like Willie Dixon and his 1958 Chevrolet station wagon. Good to be with you again. It's Marshall Chess saying goodbye for now. See you again soon.
I got a little red rooster, too lazy to crow for day. He wants everything in the barnyard, strictly gone his way. Well, he keeps all the hens fighting among themselves. Well, he keeps all the hens fighting among themselves. He don't want none of his hens laying eggs for nobody else. Well, the dogs began to bark, and the hounds began to howl. The dogs began to bark, and the hounds began to howl. Watch out, all of you kinfolk, the little red roosters on the prowl. Won't you please send him home? Can't you see my little red rooster? Won't you please send him home?